Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Eboni Harris, and I'm a relationship therapist based in Houston, Texas. So today is another Monday, another live. Excuse me if my hair is just twisted up right now because I have a workshop later that I'm doing. So I'm going to be actually doing a get ready with me for the video in the next couple weeks. So I'm going to do a get ready with me today. And then I have a workshop later. So that's why my hair is twisted, because I'm going to untwist it for the workshop. But you don't care about that. Um, so I am just jumping on because I jump on every Monday now. Usually around 2. That's the goal. It's around 2 o'clock. And hopefully, we'll have people starting to join and ask questions. So I do have a question and I'm going to address today. If no one has any other questions, I have a question from this comes up a lot, and it's very different than what I typically talk about, just because I'm a relationship therapist. So usually questions around relationships, family, communication, sex, things like that. But because I put myself out there, because I do videos on YouTube, because I have social media, because I publicly speak, I just came off a speaking engagement this weekend. People are always like, okay, I love you. I love your personality. I want to work with you. And if they don't live in the state of Texas, I cannot do therapy with them. I can do coaching. I can have them in some other programs or create some other things to help them out with, but I cannot do therapy. And so then the next question is, well, how do I find a therapist that I like? How do I find a good therapist? And so I just wanted to kind of briefly go through some of those tips because, again, I literally had this experience this weekend. Someone was like, I loved your talk. I want to connect with you, but in real life, I want you to be my therapist. And then we have to have the whole conversation about where do you live? Well, I don't see clients in that state. So, and it's a flaw of the mental health system. It's a flaw of the medical system. I've had this same conversation with a clinician. I was actually at the conference we spoke at this weekend. I mean, a doctor. And so this is a complaint amongst all human fields. I understand why they separate. Well, no, I lie. I don't understand. I think that the country should come together and say these are the requirements for this profession, and then if you have that, then you can work with people within your country. Like, I don't think it should be state by state, but that's just my opinion. There are things in place to try to work on that, but we're not there yet. So anyways, all that to say, so when you find someone that you connect with, when you find someone on social, I just realized how far away my microphone is. Okay. All right. Hopefully, yeah, I see it even moving more. So sorry, the beginning of that was probably not as loud as I would have wanted it to be. I guess I'll start over. Maybe I'll start over just really quickly and then I'll cut off the front part. I might not as well. So if you see the front part, that's what happened. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Eboni Harris and I'm a relationship therapist based in Houston, Texas. Today we are back for another Ask a Question, Ask a Therapist live on YouTube. I'm here every Monday, usually around 2 o'clock Central, to ask questions around mental health, around relationships, around sex, or any question you have about a therapist. You might say, like, what does a therapist's office look like? You can ask me any question you have, and I will try to answer it, unless it's inappropriate, of course. But what I'm talking about today is how to find a good therapist, due to the fact that, like, there aren't a lot of there are way more now. Let me say that there are a lot of therapists now who are sharing their thoughts, their experiences, who are talking about, their expertise and things like that, which is amazing. But oftentimes the small percentage of people that are public, as far as like you get to see their personality based on them being on YouTube, on social media, on Instagram. I do speaking engagements. I just came off of a speaking engagement this past weekend. And because there are so few that are out there in that way, oftentimes people connect with them and I'm like, okay, I want you to be my therapist. I like you. I like your personality. I like what you said. You are my therapist now. And unfortunately, due to our licensure in the United States, that is not possible if you don't live in the state where I'm licensed. And some therapists end up getting 3 or 4 licenses just so they can accommodate that, which I completely understand. I am not one of those therapists. I am licensed in the state of Texas. I did, during COVID, was able to practice in some other states. I see clients from other states, but they have since rescinded that. And so I am licensed in the state of Texas. And it is almost impossible to be licensed in every state. And it's extremely difficult to choose which states to be licensed in. I've had clients reach out to me from New York, New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, California. Um, I want to say this. I'm trying to think of other states that I've had people. I've had people reach out to me from all across the U.S. because they see me on social media or because they saw me at a conference, right? And so it makes it very difficult for us to like help them. And so one of the questions that comes up after I say, well, I can't work with you directly unless you are a resident of the state of Texas, or your partner is a resident of the state of Texas, or you have a mailing address in the state of Texas, hint, hint. Um, but what I could do is I can offer you some coaching. I can offer you a program that I have. I can do some group work. There are certain things that like I can work around that isn't therapy, where I can help. But you know, sometimes that stuff is just not feasible for everybody. They need therapy or they want actual therapy. So the next question then becomes, well, how do I find a therapist that I like? Like, I like your personality. I want to work with you. How do I find someone that I feel comfortable with or that I like the same way I would like to work with you? And so that is what I'm here to talk about today is how to find a therapist, what are the different ways to seek out someone that will work well for you. And we're going to talk about different price ranges and things like that. Okay. So the first one is, how do I find a therapist? And so there are several different ways. The first one I always recommend, especially if you've never done therapy before. If you've done therapy before, then maybe this isn't the first step for you. But if you've never done therapy before and you have health insurance, start with your health insurance. So you can reach out to your health insurance and ask them for a list of therapists in your state that takes the insurance. You can go to Google and you can look for therapists that take this insurance. You can go to websites like Melanin and Mental Health, which is one of my businesses, therapy for Black girls, therapy for Black men. I have a whole list of them. It's quite a few of them. I'll try to make sure I link them in the description. But there are different websites that you can go to. There's one big one that is very popular. I don't use that one. I don't need to promote it. If you Google, it will come up because it has been around for years. It's actually, I believe, like a Norwegian company. It's not even based in the States, but they have had issues with representation. They don't typically, they have a magazine that comes out every month. And I believe last year was the first time I saw a person who looked like she could have been Black. She could have been Hispanic. I'm not 100% sure. She was racially ambiguous, but that was the first person that it wasn't very clearly a white person on the cover of their magazine. So because of that, I no longer promote them, as well as I'm not even listed on there. You can't even find me on there anymore. Thank goodness I've grown my business in a way where I didn't need it. So I've taken myself off, and that's just what it is. I don't know what they've done since. They may have done way more since then, which is perfectly fine, but I just choose not to advertise through them or promote them because, again, it's the biggest company. They have the money for the SEO, but there are a lot of companies that specifically around Black and brown people, LGBTQ, Native American. There are a lot of other directories where you can go, put in what you're looking for, put in your insurance company or your insurance type, and find a therapist that can fit you. So that's the biggest one, is go through your insurance, look for someone that takes your insurance, because when we are just being introduced to therapy and we don't really know what to expect or anything like that, to me, the best option is to find a lower cost introduction, so that you can kind of figure out like, okay, this feels good, this doesn't feel good, or I like this or I don't like this. I also don't promote that other platform that you have heard about if you watch any YouTube. I don't promote them because it is a business, which, let me just say, private practice, mental health, that is a business, but the way that it is promoted, the way that it is pushed, and the way that they treat their therapist and the expectations of their therapist is not always in the best interest of the clients. And for that reason, I don't choose to promote that. So I say go through your insurance. I say look for, if you do need a low cost, reach out to therapists, see if they offer sliding scales, see if they have therapists that are in training, go to local universities, things like that. Things like that if you are seeking someone who is of lower cost. But the first place to start will be your insurance. And then again, if you need low cost, universities typically have therapists and trainings that are under supervision of the professors who are also licensed clinicians. And you can go there and typically get free, low cost, and sometimes free. There are also typically some community organizations. In Houston, we have a place called Legacy Health, and I'm sure there are plenty of other ones where you can go and get a therapist for lower cost or free. So start with that. If you are, if financially you cannot afford a therapist, this is my biggest struggle, right? I feel like people say, "Oh, therapy is so expensive." Therapy is so expensive. Therapy is not affordable, but there are a lot of resources out there to make therapy more affordable. So sometimes you just have to seek it out. Unfortunately, when people are more public, like me or other people, then I have a set rate. I am private practice. I don't take insurance, but that's because I also put a lot more effort into my marketing. I put a lot more effort into my expertise and my trainings and things like that. And so that means that's why my rate is what it is, because I'm not relying on the insurance company to be a referral rate or anything like that. And so then I have to raise my rate because there is more effort going into like getting clients in, if that makes sense, or there's more effort into me making sure that I am training myself as an expert in relationships and sex and family issues and things like that. I'm spending more time focusing on that. And so then that means my rate has to match that. So, which that could be a whole other conversation about why is therapy so expensive. We could talk about that, but there are always other resources that you can find for therapy. So then, let's say you've done that and you've seen a therapist, or you can't find any therapist that really knows what or is specializing in what you need, or that you really resonate. Maybe it's like, oh, I looked them up and I couldn't find anything on them, or their pictures looked weird, or whatever the case may be. Next step is reach out and see if they offer a consultation. See if you see some therapists that the names kind of feel like, okay, I could kind of see this person. See if they offer a consultation. I have consultations within my practice. I no longer do consultations because I'm not taking new clients as therapy. I'm not taking new therapeutic clients. And so at this point, my assistant does it and she puts you with a therapist that works for you. But I have a consultation so you can check in, you can talk to my assistant or the therapist that you may be referred to, and get to know them and learn more about their personality, learn more about their specialty and how they can help you. Now, this is something you are allowed to ask the therapist anything you want while you're in the consultation, but I would be very mindful of, are you asking questions because you're trying to find a reason why this person can't help you? Or are you trying to be very curious about how they will help you? Because sometimes we ask questions like, well, how old are you? Where do you live? Are you married? Do you have, things like that? Do you have kids? All this other stuff. And if that's extremely important to you, tap into why it is. And if it is, that's fine. But sometimes it's kind of like, oh, okay, you don't have kids, so you can't work with me. Oh, okay, you've never lived in this city. So and therapists are trained to work with an array of people. I've worked with people across the spectrum of race. I've worked with people across the spectrum of marital statuses. I've worked with people across the spectrum of kids and where they live and things like that. Therapists are trained to work with individuals and couples no matter what they have going on. Now, do I think that some people need to have some extra trainings and things? 100%. But we are trained. And the biggest thing to find out is, how do they treat me? What is their plan of action? And how are we aligned as far as personalities? Do I get along with you when we talk? Does it feel like we kind of have a little flow or back and forth? Does it feel like you know what you're talking about? Things like that. So that's a good way. If they don't have anything public facing, if they don't have social media, if they're not using things like that to get clients, then maybe trying to call and set up a consultation and say, hey, can I ask you some questions before we start our first session? If they say, no, you have to book your first session, I don't have time to do a consultation, then maybe that's not the person for you. But if you feel like, well, I'm willing to like pay for a session or two just to see if I connect with that person, then you can do that as well. Another big way to find a therapist is through recommendations or referrals. So this can be from trusted family and friends. If you know that, okay, I've seen some shifts in you, or you talk about your therapist a lot, it seems like you like them. Do you mind if we share a therapist? Do you mind if I reach out and just kind of see if this person is a good fit? It can also be through other professionals in your life, like a medical doctor, an attorney, just other people, an accountant, like other people in your life that are professionals. They may also have a network of clinicians, especially if it's around, like, I think about attorneys, right? So if you have went to consider getting a divorce, or if you have some legal issues that are going on and it's like, okay, I need to work on myself because these things keep coming up, they might have some referrals for you. So if you have other professionals, definitely check in with that. And also, just again, Google is a referral source. So looking at reviews, we don't typically have a lot of reviews. Therapists don't always have a lot of reviews just because it is a confidential business. And so people aren't necessarily going to want to write like, oh, I've seen this person as a therapist. So sometimes those reviews come from other therapists that have said, okay, I've sent clients to them and I've gotten reports back that they do good work, or I see the type of work they're doing and I feel like they're a good fit, things like that. So reviews can be a little difficult, but trying to find ways to find referrals for therapists that seem to be doing good work. The third way is through looking at their website. So again, it may not be that they have public facing as far as videos or content like that, but they might have a website. Look and see what their specialties are. Look and see if they work with the type of clients the type of client that you would be, if they work with the type of issues that you need help with. Check that out via their website, and that's a good way to try to find a therapist, right? And so the other thing I want to talk about is just like, how do you know if a good therapist is a good fit for you, right? Because I think that's a big part of it as well. Okay, so I'm looking up people, I'm trying to find people. I went to the websites, I've Googled, I've done all of the work, and now I'm starting therapy and or doing a consultation. The first one is, does it feel like there is a clear pathway, right? Now, therapy is a roller coaster. It is up, it is down, it is back, it is forward, it's all over the place, right? You'll go to therapy for 3 months and then you'll have a session and feel like, oh, I feel like I'm all the way back at the beginning. Hopefully, your therapist is going to reassure you that that is just a part of it. And it doesn't mean that all the work you've done is for naught. But therapy is all over the place. And so, how are you able to connect with this person? Do you feel like there is some type of a path? They have markers of like, this is how I do check-ins. This is how I make sure that you're making progress. I will kind of ask, like, okay, these are the goals we initially started with. Have they shifted? What are you feeling? Just kind of check in and see. And then as you're going through the process, do you feel comfortable with this person? Do you feel like you can open up? Do you feel like this is a safe space? Do you feel like they are pushing you a little bit outside of your comfort zone without trying to force you to do what they think you should do, right? And a lot of therapy is starting to learn to trust your gut, and hopefully that continues where you continue to trust, like, okay, I know what I need. This feels like this is a good fit, or no, this doesn't feel like this is a good fit. I don't feel like I'm their priority, or I don't feel like they are really helping me get to where I need to go. They don't ask me pointed questions that will help kind of direct my thoughts and help me kind of make connections and things like that. So maybe this isn't a good therapist, or this is perfect. I get to come in, I get to talk for an hour, I get to get everything out of my brain and process it in a way that is helpful. And my therapist is really good at just reflecting back and kind of sitting and just listening. And I need that, right? So just being clear on what you need and whether or not that therapist is fitting what you need is extremely important. So it is difficult. There are a lot of different ways that you can go about looking for a therapist. But I just think, it's just like I always say, this therapist, unfortunately, is like dating. And so sometimes you have a hard time finding that first therapist or finding a therapist, and then you find one that you enjoy. Sometimes you've enjoyed your therapist for a while, and then you figured out, hey, this has been good. It was good for what I needed at the time, but now I'm grown and now I'm different, and now I might need a new therapist. So truly trying to find a therapist that fits you, that works for you. It's a process, and you have to be patient, but don't give up. And while you're going through it, it is okay to start doing your own work, right? It's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to keep looking for a therapist, but I'm going to start journaling. I'm going to start doing workbooks that will help me get to a better space. I'm going to start taking courses that I know will help with me understanding more about myself, right? Because as you're doing the work and as you're working on your healing, you'll start to get more aligned with what you want, and attracting therapists or finding therapists that will work with you on what you need help with. Okay. All right. So I hope that was helpful. If you are looking for a therapist, like I said, I would start with checking with insurance or go to Melanin and Mental Health. Check it out. That is one of my other business that has nothing to do with this one right here. Also, I have a relationship toolbox that has like books and resources that can also help you on your therapeutic journey. The link is in the chat. In the description box below. And that is it. I am going to go ahead and go so I can do another video, throw on some makeup, and get ready for my event tonight. But I appreciate everyone that came in, popped out. I understand. I am just always happy when someone is able to join me. I hope to see you and more next week. I'll see you next Monday at 2 p.m. for the next Ask a Therapist Live. Also, make sure you put your questions in the comments here or other videos, and I will get to them next time. Okay. Thanks for watching. That's all. Bye.